Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
How a Greek-Turkish war could start and change the world.
right now.
Yes. All very dramatic. Oh.
What would happen if the Aegean Sea turned into a war zone, dragging Greece, Turkey, and even NATO into an all-out conflict? Picture this: warplanes streaking across the Aegean skies, warships patrolling the choppy waters, and the entire eastern.
Wow, only 4K subscribers, but this video work, it looks like a fucking real Netflix documentary. Wow.
Mediterranean on edge, missiles launched, borders reinforced, military units on high alert in both Athens and Ankara. The world watches as
Like
two
even the voice uses
Is this
like
voice
I
AI?
don't know, I think so. It's a very just gives like a professional documentary voice. Wow. Okay.
NATO allies clash, threatening global stability. This is a scenario many hope would never happen, but now it seems more likely than ever. This is exactly what a war between Greece and Turkey could look like: a sudden eruption of long-standing tensions into open warfare, and the consequences would be nothing but catastrophic. While the scenario is purely hypothetical, it is based on real-world tensions, historical disputes, and expert military assessments. The goal of this video is to explore possible outcomes, not to promote conflict. So how could these
Yeah,
things...
because I wonder if this is actual events that's occurring now, not like what if, to kind of create
I
like
think there's gonna be a
propaganda.
little what ifs because how a war could start. So I think there's like if this happened, then this would happen. So I think there's gonna be a bunch of what ifs.
escalate to this point, and what happens next? Let's break down the modern-day flashpoints that have turned this long-standing rivalry into a potential war zone. Let's get one thing straight. A Greek-Turkish war wouldn't just erupt out of nowhere. It would be the culmination of decades of escalating tensions. And as it stands, we already have all the ingredients for a deadly conflict. The competition over the Mediterranean's vast energy reserves has pushed Greece and Turkey to the edge. Billions of dollars worth of oil and gas lie beneath the waves. And with resources running out elsewhere, both nations are determined to claim their share. But the problem is that their maritime borders overlap. Greece argues that its islands, including Crete and Rhodes, extends its EEZ, while Turkey insists that its extensive coastline grants it greater rights. The result of this is warships, relentlessly shadowing research vessels, each side daring the other to make the first move. Turkey has been particularly aggressive in asserting its claims, sending research vessels escorted by military ships into disputed waters. This has led to several tense standoffs, with Greek and Turkish warships coming dangerously close to conflict. The European Union and NATO have repeatedly called for restraint and dialogue. How much longer can words keep war at bay? And then there's the ultimate red line. Turkey has declared that if Greece extends its territorial waters from 6 to 12 nautical miles, as it has the legal right to do under international law, it would constitute a casus belli, a cause for war. The Turkish parliament has even made this an official policy. In other words, a single decision.
Oh, that's interesting though. But they have like the right, I guess, under international law or something.
But they
Wow,
don't want them to exercise that right.
interesting. I didn't realize the tension was this high between these two countries. Remember when we did the videos, what they think of one another? We kind of like, okay, the past is in the past. We get it. I,
That's why I wonder if this is like.
it seems like this is actually what it is. Like the tensions are high. Wow.
Decision in Athens could trigger an all-out conflict. To add more fuel to the fire, Greece has been fortifying its islands, stationing troops and weaponry to counter Turkey's increasingly aggressive rhetoric and military posturing. Greek officials argue that this buildup is purely defensive, pointing to statements like Erdogan's ominous warning. The presence of 40,000 Turkish troops in northern Cyprus, an unresolved consequence of Turkey's 1974 invasion. Turkey has long questioned the territorial agreement set by the Treaty of Lausanne in 1923, with Erdogan even hinting at revising it, raising alarms in Athens. While Turkey claims that Greece's militarization of the Aegean Islands violates international treaties, Greece insists it is a necessary deterrent, given that Turkey maintains the largest amphibious assault force in the region, positioned directly across from these islands. As tensions rise, the military presence in Lesbos, Chios, and Samos, with the deployment of artillery, anti-aircraft systems, and armored units. turning these islands into high-stakes flashpoints in an already volatile region. But the danger isn't just military, it's also political. Nationalism remains a potent force in both Greece and Turkey, deeply rooted in historical grievances. Erdogan frequently invokes Ottoman history and past conflicts in his speeches, while Greek leaders highlight their historical resistance to Turkish expansion. With nationalist sentiments deeply rooted in both nations' identities, the political climate has been increasingly volatile, trapping both sides in a cycle where neither can afford to back down. And now, energy competition is turning this Cold War even hotter. The discovery of significant natural gas resources.
Cold War with each other, essentially.
Basically, yeah. Interesting. And so there's national gas that they, I guess. Now it makes sense. Okay, so we're fighting over gas. Who owns the gas? Okay. Because initially I'm like, what are we fighting for? It's about the money.
In the eastern Mediterranean has added a new dimension to the conflict. Both Greece and Turkey, along with other regional players like Cyprus, Israel, and Egypt, have significant economic stakes in these resources. Control over these reserves could transform national economies, making the stakes even higher. The formation of the East Mediterranean Gas Forum, which excludes Turkey, has only worsened Ankara's sense of isolation.
Ooh, why'd they exclude Turkey from it? That's not a good look from Turkey's perspective. You know, they must feel like, oh, y'all trying to plot against us.
And threat. One miscalculated move, and each of these conflicts alone could lead to war. And if warfare breaks out, who fires the first shot and what happens in the first 24 hours? Before we dive into the war game scenario, if you're enjoying this deep analysis, consider supporting our channel by hitting like and subscribing. It helps us bring even more content like this. Now, let's continue.
Strong partnerships create
This is a well done
exceptional
video though for
experiences.
such a small
Shure's
channel.
flexible
It's very, very
solutions
professional.
Would Turkey attempt to seize a Greek island, akin to Russia's annexation of Crimea? Would Greece launch preemptive strikes to
That
disable
seems to
Turkish
be
naval
like the
bases?
first step.
The island seems like, because some Greek islands are really, really close to Turkey. So, you know.
Have already gamed out these scenarios, and the results are nothing short of terrifying. According to modern military doctrine, Greece would likely follow a strategy of denial and counterattack, aiming to hold critical islands and prevent Turkish forces from securing a foothold. Turkey, on the other hand, adheres to its Blue Homeland Doctrine, which prioritizes naval expansion and maritime control. Any initial engagement would follow these principles. Within minutes of conflict erupting, Turkish and Greek fighter jets would engage in the largest aerial dogfight in Europe since World War II. Greek and Turkish jets frequently engage in tense encounters over the Aegean, something that has been happening for decades, including the deadly 2006 mid-air collision.
Wait, but isn't Greece in NATO? Wouldn't that automatically mean war against the whole NATO? Let me see.
Between Greek and Turkish fighter jets. Greece, equipped with advanced Rafales, F-16 Vipers, and potentially F-35s, would face off against Turkey's numerous but aging fleet, including upgraded F-16s and domestically developed drones. The balance of power would depend on training, coordination, and technological superiority. NATO reports suggest that Greece's pilots undergo...
Oh, this is interesting.
What?
So both Greece and Turkey are in NATO. Well, how y'all always said y'all beefing?
Wait. Wait. They just annoyed.
What is
That's
this?
annoying.
What is this? Y'all both allies and y'all fighting?
So what does everyone do?
I don't know. I guess nobody gets involved, but like what?
Some of the most intensive air combat training in the world.
I would feel like if one country joined the NATO, that would be like, oh, I'm not gonna join until that country leaves.
Yeah.
Edge in one-on-one
This is all
engagements.
for views.
However,
They ain't
Turkey's
fighting no war.
numerical advantage and experience with drone warfare could offset this. The skies above the Aegean would transform into a chaotic battlefield, with pilots locked in deadly combat, missiles streaking across
But
the
you
sky
know,
and ground.
remember how Russia has the oil and can secure a deal in convincing partners like Hungary to continue to do business with them.
Yes.
And pull them away from the European Union's interest to kind of like channel resources for only primarily Europe. So here, when we have Greece and Turkey fighting for those oil resources, I think it's more of who is more dominant, who's more in control, and say over the Mediterranean. Because when you think of the Mediterranean, you're thinking primarily these two countries. So you want to know who has the top control over this big resource.
It seems over. They're fighting over waters because there's no resources in the water. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who.
Because I never considered, okay, like for example, like they pointed out Israel, they pointed out Egypt as a part of an alliance of for gas.
Gas forum, I think it was
Gas
called.
form,
Yeah.
and not including Turkey.
It is a little interesting why Turkey is not included because
Because they have access
they
to
have
gas too
access.
as well.
Yeah, they should be included. I feel like unless there's like.
So it seems like Greece is like the leader in that.
I didn't get that Greece is the leader. I got that Greece is a part of the forum. I didn't get that they're leading the
Oh,
forum.
who has the most gas in the Mediterranean?
I don't know. No idea.
Based anti-aircraft systems adding to the danger. Turkish and Greek S-300 and S-400 and Hisar A+ missile systems would be activated to intercept incoming threats, further escalating the situation. Meanwhile, naval doctrine suggests that any prolonged conflict would revolve around control of the Aegean Sea and key maritime choke points. Greece has invested in state-of-the-art Belhera frigates and stealthy submarines, which could ambush Turkish vessels and disrupt supply lines. Turkey's naval superiority in numbers would be tested against Greece's submarine warfare expertise, which analysts believe could tip the balance in a prolonged conflict. Turkey's Bayraktar TB2 drones, which have proven devastating in Syria, Libya, and Nagorno-Karabakh, could play a decisive role in the conflict. Military assessments suggest that these drones would be used to strike Greek military installations, gather intelligence, and neutralize air defenses. However, Greece has recently acquired Israeli anti-drone technology, which could counteract these threats. The effectiveness of electronic warfare systems would be a determining factor in this domain. Beyond the battlefield, both sides would likely engage in cyber warfare, attempting to disrupt each other's command and control systems, communication networks, and critical infrastructure. A 2023 NATO report warned that cyber attacks could trigger power outages, financial instability, and civilian panic, escalating the chaos even further. The conflict.
I mean, Greece has enough civilian panic. Maybe panic is not the word, but civilian disturbances with the protests going on right now too. So.
Also have significant economic and diplomatic repercussions. Global markets could react negatively to the instability in the eastern Mediterranean, leading to fluctuations in oil and gas prices. Key regional players, such as the European Union, the United States, and Russia, would be drawn into the conflict, each with their own interests and agendas. Diplomatic efforts to broker a ceasefire would be intense, but military strategists argue that neither side would easily back down, given the strategic importance of the region. According to defense analysts, the first 72 hours of a Greek-Turkish war would be truly critical. If either side were to secure a quick, decisive victory, diplomacy might still hold. But if the conflict drags on, a wider regional war could become inevitable. So how would the world react to such a conflict?
Yeah, because I feel like this is so critical because it's gonna pull in a lot of countries into this, and everyone has to like kind of pick a side. And what does it look like? Both parties are part of NATO. Like how countries supposed to pick sides.
Would be interesting.
If anything, you push it to Russia because Russia say, "Hey, come join us."
I think so too. I think one of the countries, maybe Turkey more so, would be pushed closer to Russia.
In such warfare, fighter jets streak across the Aegean, warships lock onto targets, and NATO is suddenly staring at its worst nightmare, a war between two of its own members. The United States scrambles to contain the crisis, torn between two strategic allies. Greece, deeply rooted in Western culture and a loyal NATO member, expects full support. And Turkey, controlling the crucial Bosporus Strait and serving as NATO's eastern stronghold, is too valuable to alienate. The U.S. has expanded its military presence in Greece with multiple bases and defense agreements. While in Turkey, access to Incirlik Air Base remains strategically important, but increasingly strained due to geopolitical tensions. Meanwhile, the European Union is in turmoil. France, a staunch defender of Greece, moves quickly, deploying naval forces in a show of strength. But Germany hesitates, unwilling to jeopardize its economic ties with Turkey or risk backlash from millions.
So France picked a side.
Yeah, Germany can't because there's a lot of Turkish immigrants in Germany.
Of Turkish citizens within its borders. Internal divisions deepen, paralyzing the EU's ability to act decisively. And then there's Russia, watching, waiting, and ready to exploit the chaos. A NATO weakened by infighting is exactly what Putin wants. A distracted Turkey might be lured further into Moscow's orbit.
Honestly, this is very interesting. I didn't realize none of this is happening. Now knowing this, I wouldn't surprise if Putin tried to pull some shit, do something and try to blame one country, then blame another country, so they go at each other. This is so
Bring the
interesting.
balance of power in the Middle East and the Black Sea. If NATO cracks under the strain, Russia wins without firing a shot. Half a world
Yeah.
away, China takes notice. The Mediterranean is a key artery for its Belt and Road Initiative. And a war in the region threatens to derail its economic ambitions. Disrupted trade routes, surging oil prices, and a financial downturn could send shockwaves through Beijing's carefully calculated plans. But the most immediate catastrophe unfolds on the ground. Cities burn, ports shut down, and civilians flee by the millions. A refugee crisis.
Honestly, this should be an incentive for both Greece and Turkey to not get into a situation with one another, because if you think you're gonna pull allies to come support and take your side, they're only gonna look out for their best
Yeah,
interest
always.
and not the countries that gonna
Yep.
be like the, what do you call that, the casualties.
yeah.
They'll take the fall for all of this, because I don't know how it looks like for the two countries, for them to fight with one another, when it's actually best to have peace and continue to move forward and just prosper this way, and instead of like causing a war and having other countries pretend that they're gonna be the saviors, when in fact this may be better for all these other parties involved.
I think it's just hard for them to be like at peace because of the history.
Yeah, and people are exploiting this history.
Yeah.
crisis at an unimaginable scale floods Europe's borders. Food and energy supplies are thrown into chaos. Financial markets nosedive, and the euro trembles under the weight of uncertainty. What begins as a regional conflict now threatens to engulf the global economy. The truth is, a war in the Aegean wouldn't just reshape the region, it would shake the entire world order, which leads us to the final question. Is war inevitable?
I don't think so. I think you can avoid
Here's
it.
the thing. Both Greece and Turkey insist they don't want war, but their actions tell a different story. Military
Yeah, the thing
buildups,
is, what's the problem is the languages that they're using in their speech is evoking the past history of the Ottoman Empire and
Yeah.
past issues, past beefs.
escalate, political rhetoric hardens, and the weight of history looms over every tense negotiation. The question is no longer whether war is possible, it's whether it still can be avoided. Diplomats race against the clock. NATO scrambles to broker peace. Washington pushes for emergency talks, and the EU debates sanctions. Past NATO interventions, such as the 1996 EMEA crisis mediation, show that de-escalation is possible, but only if both sides are willing to compromise. Most recently, Greece and Turkey have engaged in NATO-led de-escalation talks to prevent accidental military clashes in the Aegean, establishing direct
Yeah.
communication channels between their armed forces. In 2023, the two countries also agreed to resume confidence-building measures, including
Yeah, I
military
agree.
deconfliction
Very
efforts
good.
to avoid
Yes, that's
unnecessary
right.
provocations. However, despite these diplomatic efforts, tensions remain high, with each side accusing the other of undermining peace initiatives. The Montreux Convention and previous diplomatic agreements have prevented full-scale conflict before, yet each new crisis tests these diplomatic safety nets. The best case scenario would be that cooler heads prevail, agreements are reached, tensions ease, and the crisis is
agree.
frozen. In the worst case scenario, a slight miscalculation, a pilot pressing the wrong button, a missile fired in the wrong place at the wrong time, and then, in an instant, the Aegean ignites. And if that happens, one thing is certain, it won't just be Greece and Turkey that pay the price. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section.
Get in the comments.
Very well done video. It's very interesting. The channel
At the
definitely
edge of my seat.
this deserves more subscribers. Let's subscribe to them. It's a good video. So in other words, one nation goes by international sea law and the other by toddler tantrums, or I want more. Ooh. Who says that Greece will go to war with Turkey?
That's what
Another
I'm
propaganda channel.
wondering. I'm wondering.
It did give a little propaganda,
because
yeah.
the way, all the way, like how long was the video?
15.
15, like maybe 14 minutes was like, oh my god, this is about to go down. The 1 minute, oh, but they have been talking,
Yeah.
keeping everything calm and cool, and I'm like,
Yeah, it does seem like it's a little propagandish, but it's
mhm.
crazy how Turkey has created the blue homeland doctrine in recent years and is challenging Greece's maritime sovereignty that has been in place for thousands of years. The worst thing is that the Turkish people accept this doctrine like sheep and as if they're reading the Quran, forgetting that Aegean is a Greek sea. Well, that sounds a little entitled though. I don't know if it's a Greek sea. They have to like Turkey has to have some sort of access to some part of the sea. There's just turkey for Christmas and chickens for eggs. Well, turkey is for Thanksgiving though. I don't know what. What?
Yeah, now the comments are getting strange. Time to leave. Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.